Now then, Manchester United are looking for a central midfielder. We all know this. Obviously, we saw against Fulham on Friday night. We had a decent performance, but we are paper thin. We've signed 3 defenders, very good defenders. We've signed 1 attacker who I think adds something in terms of depth and an alternative tactical option. But we haven't signed a single midfielder. And I think that we're probably trying to sell 3 midfielders. And let's be honest with ourselves, it wasn't exactly the most stacked position Manchester United had anyway. Now, I think United really want Ugarte, and it seems like Ugarte really wants United. And I think he's a transfer that undoubtedly comes in and does what we're looking for. But what United fans shouldn't be doing is believing that he's going to be the answer to all of our problems. He's a player with attributes to improve us in certain areas, but he's not without his faults. Now, I do this with as many signings as I get the opportunity to. With United this window, I haven't had a chance to do a case for and a worry with every single signing because they've happened with such speed that we've not had a chance to do this for all of our signings. But I wanted to do that with Ugarte because even though I think he solves a lot of the problems that United have, certainly in terms of how games became basketballish last season, he's not perfect. He might be one of the better ones that we can get, but he is not a perfect option for United. Now, the question going into the window was this. Is there a defensive midfielder that creates the dynamic that fits best with Mainoo and Bruno? Now, you can have your own opinions on how you see the game being played, and Erik ten Hag and the staff at United will obviously have their own ideas. And the thing with what we're doing is we're trying to second guess without actually seeing, the cards in Erik ten Hag's hand. He might want to be trying to do 3 of a kind. We might think he wants to do, something totally different in there. Will he be able to help us building up? Will he be able to help us alleviate the pressure on the likes of Shaw, Martinez, Onana, etc. when it comes to building up, how they get focused on because they are the obvious outlets? Are they able to stop that pure transition? Are they able to move the ball from the middle third into the final third and help us create chances earlier in the build-up? And is the price a true market valuation? And would he impact us affording a big signing next season? Is this person going to be a stopgap? Is this person going to be a loan? There's so many questions that you have to ask. Is this person suited to the Premier League? Which, if you buy anybody that hasn't played in the Premier League, that is a perfectly valid question because some people just don't suit it. Now, in terms of what Ugarte brings, his ability on the ball is a weird mix of attributes that they're not quite unique, but they're not quite the norm either. He carries the ball well. When he picks it up and dribbles with the ball, he really likes to get it out there. But he's not the most press-resistant of players. He's not Fred, but he's not the most press-resistant. He doesn't have that sort of really calm, composed demeanour. He's certainly no Busquets. He's certainly no Rodri. He is a bit more of a risk-taker. He wants to burst past players, which probably makes him better suited to be in the box-to-box. Now, United's box-to-box midfielder, even if you don't want to call him that because he fits like a different sort of mould, but the number 8, the one that's charged with maybe doing a bit of defending and a bit of attacking rather than all-out attacking, all-out defending, is Kobbie Mainoo. But Kobbie Mainoo's got the sort of aura and presence and composure and sort of like technical ability of a 6, except he off the ball, he actually suits being an 8 more. He's a really sort of weird player, and because he's not, he doesn't easily fit into like a square peg, you have to find someone who's going to be the round hole. Now, he's not also really a positional central defensive midfielder, that anchor, that destroyer, someone who marks space, someone who holds position. He's no Makalele, if you like, who just goes, don't worry about it, I got it. And that can cause issues when the team loses the ball, because if he's not naturally drawn to smelling that danger, if he's not naturally clued up about how to cover for teammates and how to protect the back four, or the back two is where it probably end up being, that can cause you issues on the transition. And it's on the transition that I need Ugarte to really stand out for Manchester United. His passing has been relatively conservative when he has featured in the deep line playmaker role as well. It isn't always backwards and sideways, and it's not necessarily like boring and safe either, but he just doesn't seem to have the natural comfort to progress the game as a 6. But as a double pivot, less back to goal, a little bit more facing forward, I think it's probably less of an issue. And he does have quality long passing. So like I said, like Ugarte's got a weird sort of set of skill set, but so does Kobbie Mainoo. And I'm wondering, is there a case to be made that you're almost looking at, like, you can't really call it a 6.5 or an 8.5, can you? But it's not, and a 7 is a different thing. Like, are they sort of half covering? Is there like a yin and yang thing going on here where Kobbie's skill set isn't like all 8 or all 6, and Ugarte's isn't all 6 or all 8, but they complement each other? We wouldn't know until we try them. But £60 million to try is a bit giddy, isn't it? The thing that makes it stand out as a good signing for me is his legs, is his work rate, is his energy. He is a huge upgrade on anybody that plays in midfield for Manchester United, bar Bruno, but obviously in a totally different kind of aspect. He's very similar to Amrabat in the sense that I'm not sure he has the calmness and the sort of positional IQ to be the true upgrade. That we did identify him as the upgrade to Casemiro, but having seen him in France, there's a little bit more chaos to his game than what we saw. Perhaps what we saw in South America was the South American game is a lot more relaxed, so therefore he looked more relaxed, and that's the risk of when you scout players from South America. Once he's got into France, and Ligue 1 is it's the closest to the Premier League in terms of like the sort of the physicality and the speed of. Germany's very transitional, Spain is very technical, Holland and Portugal are very technical, but France has kind of got like quite a physical, crashing around sort of element to it that the Premier League kind of has, which is why I don't mind buying players from the Premier League. I think it works in a way. But I think what we saw in France, and maybe we saw it with PSG. PSG are a tactical clusterfuck, so there is that to sort of think about as well. But he was more erratic once he got to Europe than what he looked like because of the tempo of the games in South America. Now, his legs are there, though, and his legs have always been there. They were evident in South America, and they are still evident in France. And I think when you look at what Manchester United really need, yes, we would love a Frankie de Jong, and I'm sure no one more than Erik ten Hag would love a Frankie de Jong that comes in, takes the ball, progresses it up the pitch, and does it with like a silky effortlessness that's just like hitting tens in terms of the quality that he does that with. But can Frankie de Jong do that sort of gritty, hard, just getting after it sort of game? Because Manchester United require that. Yes, you might get away with that playing for Ajax in Holland. You're not going to come up against that requirement too often. And the same can almost be said for Barcelona in Spain because of the nature of that league. The nature of the English Premier is that there's going to be teams that don't give a shit that you're Manchester United. They don't give a shit that this is Old Trafford. And they're going to make you work and they're going to make you run. And on one hand, that's why English football is as popular as it is. It's because people don't know that they're beat. And because they don't know that they're beat, they still go for you. And that's why you see upsets in the Premier League. Now, the table is actually about as predictable as it's ever been. But people still require that grit and that fight because there's a weird belief, even if it's an incorrect belief, that you can beat anyone on any given day. And because of that, you have to have players that are gritty. Every single team has got a way to try and hurt you on the counter, a way to try and hurt you on the break, and a way to try and hurt you for 90 minutes. And that doesn't happen. And that's not my opinion. That's listening to players who've played in France and played in Germany and played in Spain. They come to the Premier League and they go, Jesus Christ, There's not like a 30-minute break in the game. It's just an absolute bar fight for the entire time you're here. So when you're bringing players in, when you look at what Manchester United are trying to do, and you understand Erik ten Hag actually wants somebody like a Frankie de Jong to come in and sort of compose this and be a Busquets almost. I'm not sure that works. You go, Manchester City have Rodri. Manchester City have 75% possession week in, week out, and Rodri is not as silky. No, that's not right. Rodri is every bit as silky as you think he is. But it's an iron fist and a velvet glove. Rodri's a hard player. And that's what United really need. Now, Ugarte is not that. He is a little bit more chaotic and he's a lot rough around the edges. He's an iron fist and an iron fist glove. Without necessarily the defensive instincts of a Rodri. He's energy. Like, he's a far better technical version of Fred. But actually, in some games, you never saw Fred in a dry shirt for starters, did you? Some games you actually really need that. And I think United really need that. And I think because of the weird sort of skill set that Kobe has, I think you buy a player to complement the undeniable world-class potential that Kobe Mainoo has got. And I think if you do that, you might be onto something. So, Ugarte, not perfect, but damn good. Please let me know your opinions. Give us your thoughts in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters.